So we're ready to begin. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Capitola Planning Commission meeting of August 17th. This meeting is open to the public with both in-person attendance at City Hall here in the council chambers at 420 Capitola Avenue and remote attendance. Planning commissioners and staff are attending in person and remotely via Zoom. I believe we have one planning commissioner who's attending by Zoom tonight. There are several ways for the public to watch and participate. Information on how to join the meeting via Zoom and make public comments during the meeting is available on our website, cityofcapitola.org, and it's also on the meeting agenda. The public can also live stream the meeting on the city's website or on YouTube. As always, this meeting is cablecast live on Spectrum Communications, Cable TV, Channel 8, and AT&T UVerse, Channel 99, and is being recorded to be rebroadcast on the following Mondays and Fridays at 1 o'clock on Spectrum Channel 71 and Spectrum Channel 25. A recording of the meeting will also be available on the city's website after the meeting. Our technician tonight is Brian Johnson. And as a reminder, please turn off your cell phones during the meeting. And with that, we have a roll call.
Commissioner Esty.
Here.
Commissioner Jensen.
Here.
Commissioner Wilk.
Here.
Vice Chair Christensen.
Here.
And Chair Westman.
Next, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag now we're going to move on to oral communications. Are there any additions or deletions to our agenda tonight?
Yeah, you have two items that were added to agenda item 4B, 206 Hollister. One was a color and materials sheet, and the other was a landscape sheet with a little more detail than what was originally in the packet. Those are at the dais and at the back table.
Thank you. So now is the time for public comment. And this public comment period is for short communications from the public concerning matters that are not on tonight's agenda. All speakers are asked to print their name on the sign-in sheet located on the podium so we can accurately record your name in the minutes. If you would like to speak on an item not on the agenda, you're welcome to do that, and you can have 3 minutes. Is there anybody in the public who would like to speak? I think we have a gentleman here.
Hi, my name is Goran Klapic. I worked security here one time for Zelda's many years ago. We have a problem here in Capitola when you go up to the McDonald's area, where I daily buy my Diet Coke. There is a pollution across the CVS store. A lot of people drop their garbage when they walk out of the McDonald's on the pathway there. And I think it's not the responsibility of the state or the government to clean up the mess. Then I think you have to write citations or something to make the people aware that you cannot drop stuff on the ground. Or if McDonald's or another company is overwhelmed with their duties to provide adequate garbage bins, then they have to put additional containers there so that people can drop it inside there and not on the floor of the city of Capitola. Thank you very much for listening. Have a great day.
Can I ask you a question, just so I make certain I understand exactly where you're talking about? So you're talking about CVS,
Yeah, then
and then there's the pump station, the sewer sanitation district station across from that,
no.
and then the park that goes up with the bridge.
No. The 41st Avenue
41st Avenue.
with the
Okay,
McDonald's there.
sorry.
Then people consume
Uh-huh,
food or Diet Coke or whatever they buy in it
uh-huh.
there. They go outside the store, and if there's not enough space in the garbage container to throw it away, they go across on the CVS premises and they drop it on the floor there. And I don't agree that then the public works or whoever is responsible for it should be held accountable to remove this, because I don't think it's the taxpayers' duty to get rid of that.
Right, okay. No, now I'm clear about where you're talking about, so we can look into the issue.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Is there anyone else who would like to address this? Seeing no one, are there any commission comments tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to make a quick comment. The Art and Cultural Commission got an approved sculpture. It's in work right now. So the artist's name is Anthony May. He's currently working in the lower parking lot, making a fabulous sculpture. If you want to stop by and take a look, I certainly don't disturb him, but I just want to give him a shout out because he's very, very talented.
Okay, so that's the tree stump.
The
that was
tree
down
stump,
there?
yeah.
Oh, good. Nice.
His goal is to finish by Sunday.
Okay. Thanks for letting us know.
I had one question, comment.
Sure.
Just, it was nice to see, walking through the village, that it looks like one of our first outdoor dining units that for the sausage work, looks like it's just about completed. It was one of the ones I think we made some modifications to, so it's nice that to see, one of those kind of in full action and like almost ready, almost completed. It's nice to see.
Good. Any other comments? Or any staff comments?
No other comments.
Okay, so we will move on to the approval of the minutes for the June 20th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. Does anyone have any corrections or additions?
Abstain.
I'd move approval. I'd move approval. Okay, we have a motion to approve
I'll second.
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Sure will. Okay, now we're going to move on to our consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered by the Planning Commission to be routine and will be enacted in one motion in the form listed on the agenda. There will be no separate discussion on these items prior to the time the Planning Commission votes on the action, unless members of the public or the Planning Commission specifically request the item be pulled and discussed separately. And what we have on our consent agenda tonight is 1500 Wharf Road number 7. It's a historical alteration permit for one of the Venetian condominium units. And then we have 206 Hollister Avenue, and it's a design permit to demolish an existing cottage and detached garage and build a new 2-story single-family residence and a detached single-story ADU unit on the property. So is there any one of the commissioners that would like to pull either one of those items?
I would like to make at least a comment on item B.
I'd like to discuss.
You would like to discuss it? Okay, so we will move item B, 2006 Hollister Avenue, to be our first public hearing item. So it'll become A1. Call it that. So, is there a motion on the 1500 Fork Road?
I'll move to approve item 4A, the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We want to do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Esti,
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilk,
Aye.
Vice Chair Christensen,
Aye.
and Chair Westman.
Aye. All right, so now we will move on to our public hearings. And the first item on our public hearings is going to be the item from the consent calendar 206 Hollister Avenue. It is a design permit to demolish an existing cottage and detached garage and build a new two-story single-family residence. And can we have a staff report, please?
Yeah, I've got the staff report here, but before I get going, I just wanted to offer a reminder to really try to talk into these mics are very directional. So just a reminder to the commissioners. So 206 Hollister, the proposal is for a new residence and an ADU. Project requires a design permit and a coastal development permit. I've got the aerial view here. Property is 40 feet wide by 100 feet deep. And this is some context photos from the street view for existing conditions. The property is currently developed with a detached garage at just about the front property line. And there's an existing cottage that's about 600 square feet behind. This property, along with 204 Hollister, were both listed on the city's 2005 historic resources list. And these were listed as potential resources. Just a bit of background, the prior owner commissioned through the city a historic evaluation, and the determination was that these were not eligible. So we didn't need to go further with this application. And then again, for reference, the properties were developed as one property, but have since been subdivided. So that gate with the arch, the center line there of that gate is the property line on the right-hand side. So the site plan layout of the proposal before you is a two-story primary residence with a single car garage attached on the left-hand side. The tandem parking space behind. The property requires one covered, one uncovered parking space, and there's a limited standards ADU detached single-story 750 square feet in the rear yard. The red circle is one of the items that staff was not able to fully support in the recommendation to remove. This is a 30-inch palm tree. It just about straddles the property line. And the reason we ultimately did not support removal of that tree was just because it ultimately doesn't directly impact the development or limit the development of this project or the property. And the community tree and forest chapter in the Muni Code is pretty clear on its goals to preserve trees. And so without a strong reason or a limitation on development, we ultimately just didn't support this. With all that being said, the commission has full discretion to allow removal. So moving on to the elevations, this is a stone and stucco exterior with a ranch style design, two-story white vinyl windows. And the ADU just about follows the same pattern, but just a little bit more subdued and is in the rear yard. This is one of your additional materials that you were provided. So this is the color and material samples, just showing the color of the stucco, white vinyl windows, comp shingle roof, which is a small change from the staff report. I think the intent has changed in the last week to go with comp shingle rather than a metal seam. And showing a little blue pop at the door and the stone clad columns at the front. And this is your other additional material. So the code requires us to look at some details for front yard landscaping. And so the applicant provided more detail on what the ground cover would actually be. And there's 2 proposed wax myrtle trees, and so the canopy coverage complies at maturity would comply with city standard, actually with or without the palm tree. I'll clarify that ahead of time. So aside from the palm tree, project just meets all development standards, and we're recommending approval.
I had a question regarding, have we had any comments, additional comments from any of the neighbors regarding like window locations or viewing issues or anything like that?
And no neighbors came in to ask questions or view plans.
So has there been any comments regarding any neighbors about viewing and stuff like that?
I think there may have been a real estate agent actually that came in to look at plans, but no comments since the notice went out.
Question. A couple of them. So the palm tree, it looks like that is actually straddling the line. So does the neighbor, did they ever comment on that? Or was there any discussion with the neighbor about moving that tree?
I think the neighbor tried to remove that tree within the last year and went through the process of voluntary removal. And ultimately, the city wasn't able to make findings through that process, which has a bit of a higher bar rather than development. So ultimately, it would need to be a joint effort between both property owners. But again, the discretion would be with the commission. We can sort out getting if the commission goes in the direction to allow removal, we would make sure that both property owners are in
But
agreement.
as far as you know, they both neighbors want to remove that tree.
Within the last year, there have been moves made to
And then
remove the tree.
there was also some discussion about second-story opaque windows. Could you point those out on the?
Yeah, I'll go back to the elevation views. And so these are the side elevations. On the left side, there's a raised sill or semi-clear story window here. These windows are offset from the property line by 11 feet. So there's no treatment here, but I believe this is a bathroom window and it is a clear story. And then on the right side, this is at 6 feet. So this one is opaque. These are clear story. And then these windows here are at 4 feet and are proposed as opaque.
And those opaque windows were they a condition or that's just a discussion? I can't remember if that's actually a condition of the approval.
Yeah, so the history with this project is it came in January 2023 and had an ADU on the second floor, which by code does require treatment of windows. And so some of the recommendations that we gave the applicant in the first round review reflected that. They have since modified and detached the ADU, as well as in the last several months, I think the Planning Commission has made some decisions to be a little more flexible on the upper floor windows. And so this project didn't get the benefit of that current advice from staff.
So, so what you're saying is that when it was an ADU, they put in the opaque windows or clerestory, is that how you pronounce that? And then when they came in with the revision, they just left. Thank you.
So I guess I have a couple of comments about this palm tree. I'm assuming you all can hear me.
Yes.
Two things that concern me about it. One, palm trees don't have a tap root and they survive on lateral roots, which are 2 to 3 feet underneath the ground. And I was concerned about that's pretty close to the actual physical building and the foundation, et cetera. And would the construction by its nature damage those roots and therefore somehow result in damage to the tree? My other comment is palm trees are not native to Northern California at all. So I don't really have a lot of sympathy for a palm tree itself. And the third comment is if we grant them the ability to remove this tree, the city goal, excuse me, not ordinance, the goal is a 15% coverage by trees on an individual property. If we remove it, they still will have about 18% of the property covered by tree canopy after they plant the 2 trees that they're talking about planting to replace the 1 palm tree they're taking out per our rules of a 2-to-1 replacement. So I'm not, and the fact that the neighbor next door wants to remove it, so these 2 property owners are kind of in agreement. I'm not opposed to letting them remove this tree.
Hi, I'm Karma Heitzman, and I own the property next to this at 208 Hollister. And actually, I did come into the planning office and look at the plans with my real estate agent. So that's probably what he's recalling. One question I have is I've heard 2 different reports that there's been a survey of the property line. And I saw the most recent survey and where the flags were, that apparently my fence is in 18 inches, that there's actually 18 inches on the other side of where my fence is. That's part of my property. I don't need to, not interested in moving my fence. I just want to make sure that the construction and whatever they're doing is beyond that extra 18 inches and then whatever setback, because right now the existing property is like right on the fence. I mean, it's old, I realize that. So I don't know, there wasn't a clear path for making sure that we're on the same page with that, but clearly that's something that's important. 18 inches is 18 inches around here. Okay, because it looked like there were already this little survey flags there, and I just want to make sure that's what they're basing it on, because they were 18 inches into that property. So, okay. And then in terms of the ADU in the back, from my back bedroom on the 2nd story, I do have an ocean view. It sounds like because the ADU is a 1-story, that'll be okay. But I would love to make sure I'm preserving my tiny little ocean view from up there. So I don't know if there's a way to, have more information about the height line of that roof or something like that, because it would be in the back. And then final thing, I just want to understand, my husband and I both work from home, what the construction hours are if there's rules in Capitola about when construction can happen.
So I remember many more off the top of my head. I believe it starts at 8 in the morning or 7.
I think it's 8 and then
I think
by
it's
8
8.
to 7:30.
8 to 7:30 PM. And they can work on Saturdays, but I don't think on Sundays. But staff could look that up for you. It is in the city regulations. There is an ordinance that determines when construction can take place.
Okay, that would be helpful. And then is there anyone I can speak with once construction starts to make sure about the property line and where that's starting and all that kind of thing?
Talk to the building inspector, because they will inspect the foundation to make certain when it's dug that it conforms to the setbacks based on the property.
And how would I get a hold of that person? Sorry.
Well, they're upstairs here in City Hall, so you
Okay.
could call them and ask them to let you know when they're going to come out to inspect the foundation.
And do we know when construction's starting?
I don't. Okay, is there anyone else in the audience who would like? Is the applicant here? Because we might have a couple questions for the applicant. Yeah, okay. I'll let other people go.
We should check Zoom, because I think the designer was going to be joining on Zoom. Kurt, if Kurt.
There is an attendant on
That's the
Zoom
designer.
named Kurt.
Okay. So seeing no one, we'll close the public portion and bring it back to the commission. Would someone like to start the discussion? Commissioner Esty, would you like to add anything else from the comments that you made earlier?
Now, sorry about that. I spoke a little bit out of turn, but no, nothing, nothing additional. Thank you.
I would recommend that we remove the condition of preserving the palm tree and allow them to remove that palm tree. And I would also, be curious to know, I don't know if I really want to get into this discussion, but we talked about this opaque windows and how we were a little bit more relaxed on that than perhaps staff was. And as Brian pointed out, this application came in for that discussion. So if the applicant was interested in making those clear, I'd be willing to have that discussion, but I don't want to bring it up unless he wants to change.
I agree with Peter. I like the, if there's support to remove the tree.
Okay, so it seems like the one issue we have is the palm tree, and I don't have any difficulty, and it looks like, so it seems like whoever wants to make a motion on this should include the removal of the palm tree. And, we can ask the applicant how they feel about the window situation if you would like to address that. Okay.
That's what I mentioned. Very excited about the project. All of us.
Thank you.
So let me ask a question then. Is that the opaque windows, is that a condition in the approval?
It's not written in, it's just on the plan.
So what I was going to suggest is that they can work with staff and any neighbors who those windows, are close to their house. And we can give staff the authority to make the decision about whether or not, the windows should be opaque or clear with the direction. If there's not a problem, then, we see no reason why they shouldn't be clear.
I agree with that recommendation.
Okay, so hopefully you're going to include that in a motion.
Do we need to include that or recommendation? I mean, if we're just directing staff that is our opinion, that you can please work with, since it's not a condition, that you guys can just work with that, and I think they've been given direction.
Okay,
Unless someone, Paul or Jerry, disagrees, then you have that direction.
No, my only concern would be, I definitely on the side of like with the opaque window, having that requirement released, but I would think that I'd want the neighbors to be notified of that so we could hear them come forward, or go to the city staff if there was a concern. So I wouldn't want to remove that condition arbitrarily. Can I want the neighbors or anybody in that surrounding area to weigh in on?
No, that's basically what you said, right?
right.
So they'll work with staff. Okay. It's like you have direction there. So I will make a motion.
Not to interrupt, but we do have Kurt Lyons raising his hand, and I can just speak on Zoom if I could allow him.
So we've already closed the public portion of the meeting. Is he the designer?
Yeah, he's the designer.
Desire. Let's hear. Want to hear it? Okay, we'll hear what he has to say.
Thank you, Kurt. Please unmute yourself and you can speak.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Go ahead, Kurt.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Well, thanks, commissioners, for reviewing our project, our proposed project. About the windows, it was a requirement when the ADU was part of the initial design of the main residence. We had the ADU on the second level, and it was a city ordinance that those windows were required to be opaque. Since then, we've removed the ADU. We've put it as a detached structure in the rear yard. And I did not know that I could remove the opaque requirement to the upper windows of the main residence. We would definitely like to remove that. The other neighbors around the property do not have opaque windows that look onto this proposed project. So we would like to also have the same conditions. The floor level on the second upper level is mainly all bedrooms and bathrooms. So the small windows you see in there are ventilation for bathrooms, and the larger windows are just cross ventilation windows for the bedrooms. We would be willing, I think, to talk to people about the size of those windows if it became an issue with the council or any of the neighbors. But I think there's like an aesthetic value to having the windows at the sizes they are. And we tried to design this modern contemporary home to match other homes and the quality of homes in the area. So we would like to keep it as designed and remove the opaque requirement.
I think I'm actually going to interrupt you because we've actually discussed this and we've already given direction to the staff that they can work with you and the owners and the neighbors to decide if any of the windows will have an impact on the neighbors next door. And if not, you can work with the staff about most of those windows not being opaque.
Just for clarification, if I might.
Mhm.
Mr. Lentz probably doesn't realize that this topic has come up with other applicants. And we generally have agreed that as long as you have a second story window and it doesn't, it isn't blatant, it doesn't face directly into someone else's property, that clear windows are okay. And we generally look around the neighborhood and like you say, look at precedent. There are lots of other second story windows and they're not too oppressive, then, we generally have allowed those to go clear, basically. So that's why we feel confident that you could work with staff and come up with an agreement. And we don't need to specifically vote on it.
Okay, great. We're more than happy to work with staff to take care of that issue.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
So what is the consent? What item is the condition that talks about the palm tree?
It's just in the recommendation.
So I move that we approve staff recommendation for 206 Hollister Avenue with the exception of we are allowing the palm tree to be removed.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Estee,
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilt,
Aye.
Vice Chair Christensen,
Aye.
and Chair Westman.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. So now we'll move on to the next item under our public hearings, which is 836 Bay Avenue. It's for a design permit to replace an existing gas station canopy structure and a sign permit with variance requested for a new wall sign located in the community commercial zoning district. So can we have a staff report?
Yes, thank you and good evening. The application before you is a replacement of an existing gas station canopy with a new 1,900 square foot canopy in its stead. Project requires approval of a design permit, sign permit, and 2 variance requests related to that sign permit. This project is located in the community commercial zoning district. This is the site as it appeared several months ago while they were still under construction with the car wash. It can be seen to the left. The station and the site as a whole is located on the Bay Avenue commercial corridor, surrounded by non-residential uses to the east, west, and south. Highway 1 and the northern city limit boundary yard to the north.
Sorry, Sean, we don't see that presentation on Zoom.
Apologies. You see it now?
Yep, that's it. Thank you.
The site was recently improved, as said before, with a new car wash that has been since finalized adjacent to the convenience store. This is a photo of the existing canopy, a more recent photo. And you can see on there a number of strike impacts from tall vehicles. This is a continuing issue for the owners there and is one of the prime reasons they are now looking to replace it. It is substandard in terms of clearance for kind of vehicles they receive. This is the proposed site plan. The area in blue indicates the both existing and proposed location of the canopy. The new canopy is going on approximately the same location centered wise. It's slightly larger, but it otherwise covers the existing gas island pump stations, which aren't being replaced. The new sign is indicated on the front of that canopy face along Bay Avenue, where the red arrow is pointing. And this represents 2 different elevations, the side elevations. They're both symmetrical. The pitched canopy on the existing canopy is being replaced in favor of a flat frame for uniform clearance. The new structure is 19 feet tall with a vertical clearance of 16 feet. The fascia panels are constructed from blue and white painted aluminum composite material. So that's a coated aluminum surface. And this is the front and rear elevation. The only difference between those two are the absence of that new sign on the rear elevation facing the convenience store. So this would be looking at the street, from the street. The sign permit itself is exclusively for the new Chevron Hallmark logo that goes on the canopy. It's approximately 4 square feet in size, internally illuminated. The site already maintains a 39 square foot monument sign as well as a 26 square foot food mart sign on the convenience store. This site and zone are permitted to have up to 1 wall sign and a total cumulative sign area of 50 square feet. Because the addition of this new sign would exceed both the cumulative area as well as the number of allowed wall signs, a variance is required for both standards. In relation to the variance request, staff was able to make findings supportive, granting a variance for both variance requests. Findings A through F are captured on 2 slides. The first of 3 are shown here. Of note, 3 findings, A, C, and E, which I'll cover briefly here. The prime one, A, are that there are unique circumstances relating specifically to the business itself rather than the lot characteristics. in that it operates 3 distinct commercial uses out of 3 separate commercial structures, including convenience store, gas station, and car wash. When compared to other properties, multiple businesses located on the same lot would generally be entitled to their own signage allotments based on their own shop frontage. An example would be the Noble Hill Shopping Center, which is a consolidated lot, and each business has and is entitled to its own signage. Finding C, the variance enables the subject property to have similar signage to previous approvals for gas stations elsewhere in the same zone, such as the subject property. There are 2 such examples on the following slide. This is the intersection of Capitol Road and 41st Avenue. There are two gas stations there, another Chevron station as well as a Shell station, both of which have convenience stores and gas stations. The Shell station on the left also has its own automated car wash. And in both these cases, they have signage that would exceed current standards. They have, the Chevron station has monument sign, 2 canopy wall signs, and 2 wall signs on the convenience store, whereas the Shell station has a monument sign, 2 canopy wall signs, a car wash sign, as well as a convenience store wall sign. With respect to finding E, it also relates to the examples just shown on the previous slide, in that it would not constitute a granting of special privilege. Therefore, staff is in support of these primary and the rest of the findings for variances, and would support the exceeding the number of wall signs as well as the cumulative sign area. With that, staff recommends approval of the project as conditioned, as well as the supporting findings.
Anybody have any specific questions of the staff before we open the public hearing?
Quick one. Undergrounding of the utility lines. Is that already, that's a condition? Was that already done? We were looking at that.
One moment.
That condition was included when we did R1.
Yeah, so the question is, it's a condition now, and I'm just wondering if it was already implemented.
Yeah, it looks like it would have already been done. So they would not need to do any further action.
Or they're compliant with that condition. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, seeing no other questions for staff, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody here from the public who would like to speak to us?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Kurt Wagenknecht. I'm with K-12 Architects, the architect on this project and the car wash project. Just like to say that the owner couldn't be here direct tonight, but he's approved all the conditions of the project that you've got. So we're ready to go.
All right. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. We'll bring it back to the commission. We'll start with Commissioner Esty, so we don't forget him since he's on Zoom.
Yeah, no additional comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Jensen?
I would just like to say that it's a really nice, I really enjoy all the improvements that you guys have made to that gas station. It's one of the nicest in Capitola. I just wanted to add that.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
I would make a motion to approve.
The staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Esty,
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilk,
Aye.
Vice Chair Christensen,
Aye.
and Chair Westman.
Aye. Right. So now we will move on our agenda. See if we have a director's report. Is there anything you would like to tell us, Brian?
Yeah, I'm filling in for Katie on this, but we have a little bit more content to share this. So first item to share is we are in the late stages of reviewing a minor design permit and tenant improvement for Lucky's at 1475 41st. And New Leaf is going to be moving into that space and has proposed a pretty robust facade upgrade. And so this project not adding any floor area, it does qualify for a minor design permit, which is under review of the community development director. And so the procedure goes that we're going to send out a 10-day notice of pending action. And if we receive comment, then we schedule a formal public hearing, but receiving no comment, the director can't approve this project. So it is a bit of a higher profile location. So just wanted to bring that to the commission's attention. RRM helped us with the review, and it's a pretty nice upgrade. So if we do get some kind of public comment or request for a hearing, it will be coming to the commission. And the follow-up to that is that at the New Leaf space, Grocery Outlet is looking at that space.
Interesting.
Grocery Outlet is looking at the existing New Leaf space. So that one, I don't have an update for you. They're a little farther out. And as was mentioned earlier, my second item is the dining decks. And so we do have our first prototype example that is at about an 85% level. And also wanted to give you an update on for Art and Wine. We're tracking 3 that will be operational by that time. So it'd be the English Ale, Sausage Works, and the wine bar next door to. We were really happy to have an example. I think it helped everybody, and I think the flexibility that the commission considered in June, it kind of proved out that we have one now in reality. I think that prototype was kind of stalled out for some of the owners. So thank you. 2 other updates is just the housing element. So just getting an update on the timeline. So on July 29th, we received the formal comments from HCD. HCD has extended a line of communication through Katie to catch comments in the midst of their formal review, basically short circuiting the process, and the city's consultant is also involved in that. So they've been able to get a quick rebound on some of these comments. And the initial 90-day period isn't even up until October. So it's allowed us to not only stay on schedule, but be hopefully ahead of schedule with the upcoming forecast of having an October 19th special meeting with the Planning Commission.
Are there any showstoppers in there? Anything that looks particularly difficult to overcome? I
have not heard of any. So Katie let me know that most of them were the AFFH comments, affirmatively. What is the acronym? Affirmatively furthering fair housing. There you go. But I'm not close enough to it to where I can speak specifically on that. This is the outline. We're ahead of schedule, and the target would be if we get this all back to HCD, we would avoid the builder's remedy risk. And then lastly, we've had some pretty in-depth pre-application meetings with Mid-Penn Housing for this site at 1098 38th Avenue, which was formerly a skilled nursing facility, demolished about a year ago. What we're seeing in their concept plans is a 100% affordable project, 52 units. They're not totally settled on parking, but they are around a mid-60s parking count with a target of 1.5 spaces for their multi-bedroom units and a 1-to-1 for their single bedroom units. And they've kind of minimized the concessions across the board from the other project that we reviewed earlier this year at 401 Capitola Road. So they learned some lessons from that project. They also have a bigger site to work with. Project is on schedule for submittal in September.
That it?
That's it for the report.
Are there any commission comments at this time?
I just had a question. When we were going through, the housing element, I think we picked out a site that there's going to be some conceptual drawings done. Do you have an update on that, or where we are with that? That can look like.
Yeah, I don't have an update, but I remember that discussion. I will follow up.
Wait, I thought the site we picked was where Outdoor World used
Exactly.
to be.
Yeah. I was just wondering if there's an update when we might see that.
Any other commission comments? I actually have one. I think you're all aware that in Capitola, the drainage, storm drain system for our city is not city. It's operated by Zone 5, which is the county agent. And there are several neighborhoods in Capitola that don't have any storm drain. One of them is the Riverview Terrace neighborhood, the Depot Hill neighborhood. And one of the things it's happening, I'm a resident of the Riverview Terrace neighborhood, is that all of the drainage from that neighborhood now comes down to Riverview Drive and has to flow down the street to get to the first storm drains, which are sort of at the corner of Riverview Drive and Riverview Avenue there. And it's becoming a problem for a lot of the homeowners on the riverside of Riverview Avenue because we're flooding now if there's a significant storm. Doesn't have to be major, but if there's a lot of rain, our properties now flood. And sort of been thinking about it, and one of the things that I think is adding to this is there's a lot of impervious surface being created in that neighborhood as more people pave their front yards and, use them as patios. And we don't require any permits for people to do that kind of work in their yard, but it is beginning to have an impact. So my request is for staff to, at least contact Zone 5 and sort of give us an update. Do they have any plans to do any improvements in the neighborhoods in Capitola that don't have any storm drain? I think the thing, I'm not certain, but I think it's true in the 40s up in the Jewel Box area. I don't think there's storm drains in that area, but it is becoming a problem. So I think storm drains are something the city's ultimately going to have to look into to solve the problem, particularly as we add density, just like the project we saw in Hollister tonight. There's 2 buildings now with people adding ADUs, and so it's becoming more of a problem. My second one is if you could just check on the gentleman's complaint about the garbage behind CVS. I wasn't, be honest, completely clear about it, but maybe somebody could check out that area and find out what's going on. And that's it for me. Anything else? We'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you all. Good night. It's not a PDF.
CVS and Donald, walk away between the two. private property.
Is it? I think he's suggesting like that we cite the business owner.